beautiful souls, it's Tan here again today with another video in our Pluto series, and today we're going to be talking about Pluto in the first house. So before we get started, if you've been keeping up with the channel and you like the content that I've been putting out, you can of course support me on a platform called coffee.com by buying me a coffee. The support that you provide me with will go into purchasing tools and equipment that I have to use and purchase in order to make these YouTube videos for you guys, as well as do birth chart readings. And I have made an introduction video to this Pluto series, so I highly recommend that you check out that video first, so links up above and description box below, to kind of get a comprehensive understanding of the journey of Pluto, and then you can come back and watch this video. So in this Pluto series, I want to talk as openly and as transparent as I can to you guys about each of the Pluto placements, because that's kind of how Pluto works. And if you feel like as you watch the video there are certain things that come up that you didn't expect, then of course it is your decision to not continue to watch the video if you like. So with Pluto in the first house, your greatest transformation in this life, and your life is filled with intense transformations, but the biggest one is coming from your ability to have conscious instinct and conscious willpower. So going from, of course, unconscious instinct and unconscious willpower. So the first house is, of course, in astrology considered to be the house of Mars. It can be considered as traditionally ruled by the sign of Aries, and it is a very instinctual house. When you put Pluto here, it's going to impose within your life this instinctual feeling like you are meant for something really big in life, that there's some part of you, there's many parts of you, many layers of you that you would like to keep uncovering and knowing more, and being able to push yourself to certain limits with regards to, sometimes it's your physical body, sometimes it's what you do in life and your life journey, to fully go as deep as you can in your identity, who you are, and in your being. But that's unconscious. And so with this Pluto placement, you're putting a planet filled with deep insecurities, Pluto, unconscious insecurities, and the need to find security through another person's resources, into the house of spontaneity, of impulse, of instinct, of willpower, the gut, that stomach, that gut feeling. As much as you are desiring all these things that I just mentioned previously, you are also having insecurities about it. So there's going to be a certain push and pull effect, a friction that occurs, which ultimately confuses your willpower and your instinct until you work with it through situations that happen in your life. It can be your career, it can be other relationships with other people, but mainly it will be through relationships with other people that you begin to work more consciously with your instinct and your personal willpower. So, you see, when your instinct is unconscious, it can cause you to perceive danger for yourself and for your loved ones when there isn't. It can cause you to perceive something that is unhealthy or toxic in the environment for you and for other people and that you love when there isn't. It can also cause you to feel like you don't want to get into certain situations that is healthy for you, or that you actually feel happy about when you should. But it can be reversed, meaning that it can cause you to also not see situations that are dangerous for yourself, not see toxic situations that are occurring in your life and the people around you, situations where you should protect yourself and stray away from. You may jump into those situations. Or situations that you don't actually feel excited or happy about, that you should maybe recede back from, you still jump into it. So that's what happens when the gut is off. When this happens, it's going to cause you to have a persona, right? This is the first house, an identity and a persona that is showing other people or coming across as strong, like you don't really care. Sometimes, if Pluto is really close to the ascendant, you may prefer to dress in a particular way or present yourself with kind of piercings and tattoo and dark makeup if you're a woman, because that shows people that you got the strength, that nothing can really penetrate you. But if nothing can really penetrate you and you're really not affected, then why do you have to show that to people in the first place? You see, this is the psychology of Pluto, is that when you're displaying this particular facade, it's actually the mind or the human psychology preventing other people from harming you. But if you can't be harmed, if you own your power, you don't even have to project this type of a facade in the first place. Pluto in the first house, people. Because the power, the strength is inside. So it's kind of like you may wear a protective shield over yourself, metaphorically speaking, to show people that you're strong. But if you're really strong underneath that shield, then you don't have to wear the shield, because nothing's going to be able to hurt you anyways. But the fact that you have to wear a shield in the first place is because there's still something inside of you that hasn't yet owned up to your power. So, relationships is one of the big testing ground for you Pluto in the first house people, because, well, first of all, this is the opposite axis of the seventh house, the house of others. But at the same time, Pluto is all about sharing resources, right? Sex, intimacy. And that can only be done through a very deep and intimate bonding relationship with another person. So, because the evolutionary growth of Pluto here, it's asking you to have that internal power, that conscious instinct inside of you, not on the facade. So you're going to unconsciously be drawn to others who are going to test you on this, meaning that when you are attracted to someone with this Pluto placement, there's going to be an intense feeling of attraction that is coming from your instinct. That is either, if you've already worked with it, really good instinct, and that person is probably really right for you. But if you haven't yet worked with it, really off instincts that Pluto is trying to force you into that relationship so that you have to own up to your power. So, if your instinct is off, let's talk about that situation first. If your instinct is still off and you haven't yet worked with it, you know that that particular person unconsciously is going to help you to own up to your power. And here's when you, Pluto in the first house people, get drawn to platonic relationships. Because platonic relationships, relationships where there's a really strong Pluto going on between two people, are relationships that transform you immensely, because they ask you to build power in yourself. It asks you to empower yourself. So, you may be very instinctually attracted to someone who is maybe Plutonic themselves, who maybe hasn't owned up to their Pluto, who still has manipulative tendencies inside of them, who may be toxic or even abusive for you, but yet you're drawn to them anyways. And you may be drawn to Pluto in 7th house people, actually, or Pluto in the 5th house individuals. But when you get into these types of relationships, there's an unconscious knowing inside of you that you got into it because that person is going to help you to own up to your own personal power. And in a way, this is a relationship of need. This is an egoic type of a motivation for a relationship. because there's this understanding that, you know, Pluto in the first house, right? Pluto represents obsession. So there's going to be obsession with the self, with the transformation that we talked about previously, that when you get into this type of relationship, you may find that you're in a position of being dominated over by somebody else, because there's a feeling of guilt that, well, I've been really obsessed with myself and my transformation, and I've also getting into this relationship because unconsciously I am searching to own up to my own personal power and work with my instinct. So this is the unconscious thoughts that's going on underneath. So you're going to be somebody who kind of lets the partner dominate the relationship. You kind of allow them to make certain decisions. Maybe they are really drawn to your magnetism and your hypnotic way of being, your sexual aura, that they just want to consume you and you allow them to do it. Okay, so you're in a position of an unequal relationship, in a relationship that can be abusive, toxic, or manipulative, and you're the one that is being abused and you're the one that's being manipulated. So the relationship of this type ultimately doesn't last, because you're going to be forced to empower yourself, to put the power inside of yourself. And once you realize what's been going on in this type of relationship, you may break it off and no longer feel like you have to be with this particular individual anymore. So that's the first scenario. But let's say that your instinct is still off. There's another way that this could work, is that you're drawn to particular individuals that are dependent on others, that you feel are a little bit, they have a weaker willpower than you. Because you know that once you get into these relationships with people who have less willpower than you can then be the dominant one. When you're the dominant one here, you feel unconsciously that now you're going to be able to exercise your power with freedom in any way that you would like to. Now this person is going to come to my life so that I can project my shadow off of them, so that I can work with my willpower, dominate them with regards to my willpower, and know how to work with that. So with this situation, you could be the one who is the abusive one, who is the manipulative one, the one who is more controlling over your partner. So, you know, you can be like overly protective over them, you know, thinking that there's danger coming into your partner's life when there isn't. So therefore, you feel the need to protect over your partner, to tell them what to do so that you make sure that they're safe. Now you get to exercise your willpower. You get to exercise your willpower freely at the expense of somebody else's health, mental health, emotional health. Once you do this, you're likely to be the ones who maybe end the relationship as well, because you're going to have an awareness that, okay, I think that I've dominated over this person and I haven't acted in the best way possible. I feel like now I feel guilty, or I feel ashamed of myself. But unconsciously, you're breaking this off because now you have the free will to go and keep transforming and exploring without that other person. So we can have these two scenarios happening if you haven't yet worked with your instinct in how to get your personal power. And how do you work to have very accurate instinct? Is that this particular Pluto placement will cause you to have to transform yourself completely with regards to your identity. Sometimes it is a physical transformation that leads to an identification transformation, transformation of your identity. So it could be, for example, that you are in a particular, let's say, career that is more athletic. This is going to depend on, Pluto's planets and what they're aspecting, which planet Pluto is aspecting. But let's say that you're a physical person and you're in a career that is very physically demanding, and you work yourself way too hard to a point of obsession because you're not aware of the your instinct is telling you to take a break, right? To go easy on your body, but you're not listening to that instinct. So you may have certain injuries that holds you back from pursuing that particular career. This can be one scenario. Or it can be that you know, Pluto's aspecting Venus or the moon, then you're going to be in relationships with people where your instinct is off, that relationship ends, and that relationship transforms and changes your identity completely. So now you're going to have better instinct. So there's various situations that can happen. So when a Pluto in the first house people, when you transform, you are completely transformed. Who you were at 20 is not who you are at 30. Who you are at 30 is not who you're going to be at 40 or who you are at 40. Who you are at 40 may not even be who you are at 45. It's a cyclic death of the ego, of the identity, because ego and identity are very much linked. This feeling of I am this and I am that. Now, if Pluto is conjunct the ascendant, it's very close. It can be out of sign, or it can be the same sign as the ascendant, especially if it's the same sign as the ascendant and it's very close to the ascendant. This Pluto is gonna be much more intense for the people in your environment, meaning that you're gonna come off as somebody that people are gonna either love or hate. And it's not just going to be in one-to-one relationships, and it's not just going to be with regards to like a physical transformation, but you're going to feel this everywhere that you go. Strangers on the street, your friends and family, they're going to be a little put off by you because you have it like right there on the surface that you're perceiving danger in the situation. And when you do that, people feel like this person with Pluto conjunct the ascendant thinks I am dangerous, but I am not. You know what? I'm just gonna stay away from this person. That's the kind of effect that you can have. Or, you know, people may just feel like this person with Pluto conjunct the ascendant is defending themselves already, meaning that they are perceiving danger in the environment, which is me. Well, that's kind of strange, so I'm gonna just kind of stay away from them. So that's kind of what can happen here. And because of this type of an intense situation, you feel like, well, if you can't interact with people, if you can't get close to them, if you can't share your resources with them, then you're not going to grow. You're not going to be able to know how to work with yourself. So you're going to have to change this type of a persona. And of course, you know, some Pluto the first house people do ayahuasca, or they go to therapy to kind of trace the environment that was going on around them, the perceived threats that happened to them when they were very young that they may not remember, to see what has caused the physical body to radiate such an aura, what has caused the physical body, the muscles, to become so tense and to be like on a protective mode a lot of the times. And they begin to actually change that. Because if you're doing ayahuasca, for example, you're totally purging, you're like puking up darkness that is inside of you that you didn't, that you've been holding so dear to yourself. And if you do therapy, then you get to release that through, maybe it's talking, maybe it's crying it out, that you become transformed. So yes, the complete transformation can be in terms of the persona. If Pluto is really close to the ascendant, the actual face, like the way that you may walk around kind of like this before, but now you're kind of a little bit relaxed, you're a little bit more open. Or, you know, if it's not directly conjunct the ascendant, then, but if it's also directly conjunct the ascendant, this can also apply, is that through the relationships, different ways of approaching people, different ways of using your instinct to approach people. With regards to your career, you're going a little bit easy from time to time, listening to what your instinct is telling you with how you're going to pursue your career, your life journey. So, okay, I feel like this is getting pretty heavy and intense, so take a breather. So once you've worked with your instincts in these particular ways, you're going to be drawn to people where your instinct lets you know that this is the right person. This person is right for me. You listen to that. This person is not right for me. I can smell their toxicity from 3 meters away. Can smell their toxicity through the internet. I'm not going to approach them. I don't need it. My instinct is working. It's on. The power is within me. I no longer need to wield my power around. I no longer need to test my power on this particular person. Yeah, I'm going to go with my own life. This person is right for me. I'm listening to my instinct in that. They may not be the type of person that I would usually get involved with because they're not presenting me with difficulties, because they're not presenting me with intensity and obsession. They're going to bring out the best in me. I'm going to go for that. So this is an example of what could happen. And so ultimately, you may find yourself in an equal partnership and a relationship, balanced relationship, where you and another person allow each other to have freedom while still being in the relationship. You're giving equally to each other. You allow each other to grow and evolve and transform, and you may do that together. There's no need to no longer force transformation onto yourself through a partnership anymore. You can be very successful with any type of projects or endeavors that you have in your life because you have a good pacing. You have the power inside yourself. You're not trying to prove that you can do it and push yourself when your instinct is kicking in and saying, hey, you're burning out. When your instinct is kicking in and it's telling you that you're burning out, you've learned from this mistake in the past. You know that you need to stop. And you stop and you take a break. And therefore you garner this energy when you're on your break. You garner this freshness of energy to be able to use it again to pursue in a particular life journey of yours, whatever endeavors you're engaging with in your life. So ultimately, Pluto in the first house people, when you have transformed and become more enlightened, you're somebody who is very, very self-aware. And I know people in the first house people who are like, you know, they're still kind of have that defensive nature on, and they would be a bit defensive about certain things and perceive danger when there isn't. But then I would look at them and they would be like, yeah, I'm being a little bit paranoid in the situation, aren't I? So they're very self-aware people and they can have spot on instinct about a lot of things in life. Like, you can detect people's motives. You can understand people's psychology and why they are doing things in a certain way that may be not obvious on the surface to a lot of people. You can see that. So, great placement for any type of psychological work, or a lot of celebrities have this because there's a magnetic aura about you, right? I talked a lot about this with my physical attraction in astrology video, and you know how Pluto in the first house is part of that physical attraction, so you can check out that video if you like. But yeah, I'll post a link to that up there. But yeah, you are very aware as well of your desires, right? From going from a place of, you know, desiring this situation in life to help me grow, desiring this person because I need to own up to my power. Now you're aware of why you desire certain things and why some desires, why desire can be fueled by obsession. And then you can make the right decisions, healthy decisions for yourself as to why you don't need to engage in certain lusty desires simply because it is coming from insecurity. Why would you need to do that when you have the security and the power in yourself? You can have a very strong will. You can get whatever it is that you want to get in your life, and people want to support your projects and your efforts because they can see that you are capable. When people see that when you want something, you can make it happen. They're willing to invest in you. But of course, if you're not yet working with this, people are not going to want to invest in you because you're going to come off as forceful and you're going to come off as a little bit threatening, and they're not sure if they want to work with you because they don't know where you're coming from. So they're not going to invest in you. But once you get work with this persona again, to be somebody who is approachable but at the same time capable, then you can get a lot of abundance and prosperity in your life. And you can also have a very strong physical body because your instinct knows what it is that you need to do at particular moments to take care of your body in a way that is just piercing type of an instinct. So that's going to be my interpretation of Pluto in the first house. If you have this, then do comment below. Let us know what your experiences have been. If you haven't yet subscribed, then do hit that subscribe button below and give this a thumbs up if you like this video. If you already subscribed, then thank you very much for coming along, beautiful souls. And I do birth chart readings, synastry, and relationship readings. All the information is on my website. You can check that out. And yeah, I'll see you soon, beautiful souls. Bye.